You all know that I love myself a mediocre romantic comedy, but my second favorite, close second, is action comedies. I'm talking Deadpool, Bullet Train, The Gentleman, etc. Basically, a lot of Guy Ritchie films. And my favorite action comedies are the ones with very little to no plot. I like them super simple so I can turn my brain off and watch people beat the shit out of each other. And last year, the year of our Lord 2022, had a lot to offer in this genre. We got award winning films like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and less than award winning films like Violent Night and Shotgun Wedding. We were also blessed with a movie with basically no plot, just a girl beating the shit out of multiple men, and luckily it was on a streaming service that I actually have. The Princess. The Princess was released July 1st, 2022 on Hulu. It was directed by Lee Von Kiet, who was also behind the amazing Vietnamese movie Fury and another movie starring Joey King from all the Kissing Booth movies and Bullet Train, Dominic Cooper from Mamma Mia and Preacher, and No Tan Van from the aforementioned Fury and The Old Guard. Noah kicked some major ass in Fury, so it's nice to see her kick some more in this movie as well. Now, when I say the plot is super simple and almost non existent, I mean it. Even the synopsis makes it sound more plot heavy than it actually is. When a strong willed princess refuses to wed a cruel sociopath, she is kidnapped and locked in a remote tower. With her scorned, vindictive suitor intent on taking her father's throne, the princess must protect her family and save the kingdom. I'm thinking the overview of the film itself is going to be like really short because of the lack of dialogue, but let's just get into it and see for ourselves. We start the film off with a wide shot of a computer animated kingdom right before zooming into the highest room of the tallest tower, where we meet our beautiful Sleeping Beauty. And she's actually been drugged and locked in, so it's more accurate to fairy tales than any Disney adaptation. There isn't much time for her to get her bearings before two thugs saunter in. Thinking on her feet, she plays dead. Or drugged, more accurately, luring them into a false sense of security before breaking this guy's nose. Clearly, she isn't like the other princesses they've kidnapped. After a chaotic and somewhat gruesome fight sequence, the princesses racked up a total of two kills. One from piercing this one's brain through the eye, ugh, and the other one from the unfortunate existence of gravity. This is the first 10 minutes, and we haven't even heard her talk. Well, unless you, count this. Just before she can make her escape from the room, another lumbering guard comes in. She makes quick work of her third kill before staging the two remaining bodies. And now she's finally made it out of that prison. I did mention that the room was located at the top of the tallest tower, right? This might not be a walk in the park. Here we go. After successfully hiding in the bathroom, the princess unluckily runs into this hunk of a man out in the hallway. This fight isn't as easy as the first few, but she prevails in the end. Poor guy. That was a really nice helmet. Shame. Moving on. Throughout the movie, we're gifted with the context on how this little girl can defeat these giant ass men. The princess was given a feared and skilled warrior from a foreign country as her nanny. Grade A parenting. Like, not even sarcasm. That was, like, really great. And under her father's nose, but with her mother's blessing, was trained to fight. It's about now that we get to meet our antagonist. Julius was betrothed to the fair princess, but she left him at the altar. The king apparently refused to force his daughter into the marriage that very night, so this lunatic kidnapped the whole wedding party and their guests. A bit dramatic, but whatever. I'll save you all the trouble and just say that this man has most of the lines in this whole film. Most of the plot comes from him, and I'm not even mad about it. Dominic plays the condescending jackass quite well.
Well, my little princess, I will marry your sister because
I always get what I want.
Oh yeah, and by the way, Julius here had always planned on a coup. It wasn't just a spur of the moment thing, but he was hoping to have some legitimate claim to the throne first, before beheading the king. Kind of smart, but it sounds like so much work, even with his sexy whip-wielding sidekick. What's her name? Moira. Moira. Give me a break. There aren't a lot of names in this movie, and none of them are important, so some might slip through my head. Back with the princess, and luckily most of the mercenaries are too busy looting the castle to notice her sneaking around. But these two, who just happen to have bad timing, and this guy who, quite honestly, is too dressed up to be anything but decorative. Of course, our girl kills each and every one of them in a fabulous and unique fashion, but her luck, if you can even call it that, runs out just about now. I really want to count all of her kills, but this staircase scene alone makes it almost impossible. Like, there's so many of these bastards, and I can't be sure how many actually die or how many are just like minorly maimed. Of course, she gets cornered though. There's no way she could take them all. With some more quick thinking and ninja skills, she runs slash swings her way to a whole different part of the castle. While she's trying to catch her breath and assess her wounds, she's reunited and almost killed by her nanny, Lynn. So now we have two badass women just hawking their way to rescue the royal family. Did I forget to mention that was their goal? Probably got distracted by non-stop beating up of stuntmen. The princess and Lynn make their way down to the kitchens through some secret passageways and end up rescuing some of the staff from like three more thugs. Obviously, these poor bastards don't make it, but then enters badass but evil Moira, swinging that whip around and causing a kitchen fire. So unsafe. After Lynn volunteers to distract the bad bitch, the princess is led to escape into the plumbing, where she water slides her way down to the dungeons where her family is being kept. And I guess Evil Guy Poker Night is being held. Chug, 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 chug. Another like 3 or 4 tallies added to the kill counter. Her family is all very surprised to see her, especially after watching her whoop ass. None more surprised than her father, who tried to marry her off for the sole reason that she's too weak to be his heir because, she's a girl. Tale is all the time. Her little sister Violet is also impressed.
I knew it.
The happily reunited family makes it about 5 steps up the stairs before one concussion later, and Julius has brought her and her family into the throne room to gloat and threaten, only to be threatened back.
Because you know that I'll never rest until I'm standing above your corpse, holding your still beating heart.
Obviously, my guy, she's not going to submit to you. She killed like 20 men in less than an hour. Bro bounces back fast though and follows up with the devious plan of marrying her 11-year-old sister instead, and then just killing her, thus making Violet the heir, or more accurately, her husband. This guy's like 40 ill. Chaos ensues, and while Violet is being ushered into the secret passageways by Lynn, the princess is thrown out a goddamn window. A fall from that height into water would have been like falling onto cement, but remember everyone, she's the protagonist, so of course she can't die. Instead, she cuts her bonds with a glass shard and swims to the surface without drowning to death. She's got impressive lung capacity. As she sneaks her way back into the castle, she is caught by yet another big, bad thug. Good thing Violet and Gravity intervene. So jot one whole kill down for the 11-year-old. The princess, Lynn, and Violet then make their way down to a secret armory and equip themselves for the big ending fight sequence. All except for Violet. She's benched because she's unskilled and literally the new target for this coup. And 11. Back at the chapel, Julius turns the wedding guests turned hostages back to wedding guests as his men scramble to find his new bride. And here's our climactic battle. 2 well-trained women against like 40 probably also well-trained men. Seems a little unfair. For the men, I guess. While Julius is distracted by the princess and Lynn taking on his whole hired army, Violet tries her hand at being heroic and starts cutting the hostages loose. Too bad this douchebag isn't as dumb as he looks. Violet is caught, Lynn is stabbed, all is lost. But again, the princess is the protagonist, of course she's going to rally herself and win. After Moira is hung by her own whip, the princess goes to confront her ex-fiancé. He's all condescending as per usual, and after stabbing her in the hip, backs her out into the courtyard for all to see. Julius starts going on and on and on about how he's better suited to be king, blah, blah, blah. Typical villain monologue when the princess centers herself. And
Off with his head!
I'm gonna have to censor so much. Damn. With the big bag defeated and in pieces on the ground, the king declares that they have a new heir. Hip hip hooray! So, The Princess. I actually really enjoyed this film. It is not perfect, obviously, but it's good for what it is. The fight sequences were decent and fun and the highlight of the movie. They really got my blood pumping, which was like really all I need in an action film. And if I'm not mistaken, Joey King actually did a decent bit of her own stunts, which I always find impressive and badass. The fact that the main character is never referred to by name is hilarious, but doesn't take away from the film at all. The princess is always referred to as that, and the king as well. Both the villain and his sidekick are named Julius and Moira, the princess's trainer, Lynn, and her little sister, Violet, as well. It's similar, but obviously not on the same level as Tenet. There are only a handful of complaints I have about the movie, the first being the story or lack thereof. But honestly, the shining star of the movie isn't even supposed to be the plot, it's the action. By having a very, very bare bones story, it leaves more room for more violence. And that's all that really matters here. I feel like if there were more dialogue, I'd complain that nobody cares and that they need to get back to the fighting. The second major complaint I have is that the overall obvious plot armor that the princess has. But since this is an action movie, I'm not gonna hold it against it. Most action films have shit that the characters shouldn't be able to live through, and I just let it go. In the spirit of empowering women and defeating toxic and abusive men, I'd like to bring your attention to the wonderful organization YWCA, specifically the Lancaster branch. YWCA Lancaster is dedicated to eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Everything we do is based on the belief that all women and families have the right to be safe and choose the direction of their lives. I'll leave a link for more information below in the description, and if you need help, please reach out. Even the princess needed assistance taking down her tyrant. I believe that's it for now. If you have any movie suggestions, complaints about my opinions, and just want to say sup, please leave them down in the comments section below. I ask that you keep your comments respectful because I'm a sensitive soul. Bye.